Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
And you're watching In Depth
On Now You Know. This week's show is sponsored by Policy Genius. What are you doing?
I'm trying to sign up for life insurance. Did you know it costs more as you get older? If I could just get covered now, I could lock in a rate for like a 10 or 20 year policy.
So what's the problem?
Well, I'm trying to find the best policy, and it's such a pain. I have to call a dozen insurance companies to get quotes, or I have to go to different websites and fill out different forms, and then I get different quotes from different companies that don't use the same numbers, so they're nearly impossible to compare.
Why aren't you just using Policy Genius?
What's that?
Policy Genius is an insurance marketplace. In minutes, you could work out how much coverage you need and compare personalized quotes to find your best price.
And then what? I'm going to have to call up some insurance company and go through all that work again?
No, when you're ready to apply, the Policy Genius team will handle the paperwork and scheduling.
Wait, who is going to do this for me?
Policy Genius's licensed experts who work for you, not the insurance companies.
Whoa, I don't know if I have the room in the budget for hiring a licensed insurance agent.
No, it's completely free. You could save 50% or more on life insurance by comparing quotes with Policy Genius.
So help support this show and possibly save $1,300 or more per year by using Policy Genius to compare life insurance policies. Go to policygenius.com/nowyouknow. And it's time for the 6th annual Climate Exchange Tesla raffle. And you know what that means?
That means I could win a Tesla?
Yes, it does. The grand prize is your choice of a Tesla Model S Plaid all-electric luxury performance sedan, or the Model X SUV, or the Model 3, or the Model Y, your choice. And not only that, they're going to pay the taxes on it.
What? So I could win a car and just have it and not have to worry about taxes and stuff like that?
Yep. Also, second prize, 10 grand, third prize, 5 grand, fourth prize, 3 grand, fifth prize, 2 grand. So lots of great prizes. And the odds of winning are pretty darn good because they're limiting the ticket sales. You have like a 5 in 5,000 chance of winning one of the 5 prizes.
And I mean, a 1 in 5,000 chance of winning the grand prize.
Yeah.
You're not going to get those kind of odds on normal lottery.
And you're helping support a great mission. Climate Exchange is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Their mission is to achieve a durable, just transition away from polluting fossil fuels in the United States by advancing climate policy at the state level. They empower state and local policymakers, business leaders, and advocates with the information, resources, and networks they need to make these policies a reality in a way that best serves local communities. So help support a good cause. Have a chance of winning a Tesla. How are you going to beat that?
I mean, I don't think there's any other way I could possibly afford a Model S Plaid. So yeah. I think it's time for me to ante up some money, huh?
Link is down in the description below. And we're brought to you by BigBattery.com. No matter what you need to power, Big Battery can provide you with the latest battery tech at the best price per kilowatt hour guaranteed. Their batteries are easily installed, require zero maintenance, and they're made right here in the U.S. Pick up yours today at BigBattery.com and use code NOWYOUKNOW for 5% off at checkout.
So a little while ago, Marquise Brownlee put out a video titled Driving 1,000 Miles in 3 Cars, Gas versus Electric.
Yeah, in this video, they tested his Plaid Model S, a Ford Mach-E, and an Audi gas car.
In the test, the Audi took 18 hours and 39 minutes to make a full 1,000-mile road trip from New York City all the way up to Lake Placid, all the way over to Niagara Falls, and then all the way home with some pit stops in between to take pictures at different monuments.
And how did the Tesla do?
So the Tesla took only 1 hour and 32 minutes more than the gas car, although they did stop to charge up to 100% on the trip at one point.
Why did they do that?
I don't know. That's not time efficient at all. They probably could have shaved about 20 minutes off their trip if they didn't do that. They also didn't destination charge at their hotel because they had stayed overnight and they didn't charge it overnight, which probably would have saved them like another 30 minutes. And then they ended up getting home with a lot of extra range, even in comparison to the gas car.
So I think it is fair to say if you had charged a little more smartly that the Audi and the Tesla are pretty much neck and neck.
I mean, pretty neck and neck. You could argue, yes, the Tesla took a little bit longer. But of course, as any Tesla driver knows, it's actually nice to have supercharger stops where you can get out and relax and not feel rushed.
But there's a third car in there, the Mach-E. How did that do?
It took an extra 6 hours and 35 minutes.
Wait, the Tesla was an hour and a half longer. The Mach-E was 6.5 hours longer on a 1,000-mile road trip. That's like a 2-day road trip.
Yes.
6.5 hours. That's almost an entire day of driving.
Right.
Wait, what?
So yeah, this was quite an odyssey of an adventure for these the poor team members who had to drive the Mach-E. So first, the Mach-E started with a full charge, and they all kind of left at the same time. The Mach-E had the smallest range of all the cars, so of course it had to stop first. They were using the in-car navigation to get them going on their trip. And it first told them to stop at an Evolve New York charger. And that charger was broken completely. Didn't work at all. By the way, this charger uses the exact same chargers as Electrify America. If you look, it's the same shape, same size. It's basically the exact same chargers. So anyway, with 36 miles left on their battery, they had to drive 38 miles out of their way into Vermont to get to a 50 kilowatt EV Go station with one stall where they had to sit for 2 hours.
What?
So at this point, just a few hours into their trip, they knew that they weren't going to be able to make it up to Lake Placid. So they took a completely different route than the Tesla and the Audi.
Yeah, which, I mean, I think isn't really fair because that was a huge time saver.
Yes.
But I get it. It was late at night and they just needed to get to the hotel.
I would not have wanted to deal with that either.
So basically, if they had been on the same road trip, they would have missed all the sites and things that they were going to go see. Like they would have missed, the photo ops and all that.
Many of the photo ops they missed. And so as they were leaving this charger in Vermont, the Tesla and the Audi were already practically at Niagara Falls.
Wow.
Which was the end of the first day. So they traveled straight towards Niagara Falls. They stopped at a working Electrify America charger at a Denny's for 40 minutes. They stopped charging at this one with 80%. And that's because the charging rate dropped significantly once they hit 80%.
Yeah, I mean, we know that all EVs have a taper curve, but as we discovered when we reviewed the Mach-E, it has a really hard curve at 80%. It really drops
more
fast.
More of a cliff.
Yeah.
More of a cliff. Then at 9:30 at night, they arrived at an EV Connect charger, which was broken. So they had to drive another half hour further to get to another charger that the car told them to go to, which ended up being a level 2 charger, which only gave them 2% battery. So then they had to go another 30 minutes with hardly any range left to an Electrify America charger with 5% battery left. They charged there for 46 minutes to give them enough range to get to Niagara Falls at 12:40 in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, the Tesla got there before 8 o'clock at night.
Yes. So the next day they started off with less than 75% battery. Again, I think they should have destination charged at a hotel. And so that day they started to use exclusively Electrify America chargers and ignore their in-car navigation. However, and I watched like 40 minutes of footage to figure out, they didn't use a better route planner.
Oh, that was their mistake.
They were just using the Electrify America app to help them navigate, which seems to have worked. Their first stop that day was an Electrify America charger where the first stall they plugged into didn't work and caused them a lot of frustration. But then they finally got that one charging. And then they continued driving. The final Electrify America charger they stopped at, 3 of the 4 stalls were broken. They luckily had that 4th stall. That charged them back up and got them to New York 45 minutes after the Tesla got there.
Okay, so the second day was better for them basically because they ignored what Ford told them to do and just checked apps to make sure that chargers were working, although not all the chargers were working.
Right. They really lucked out that those chargers were empty.
I do want to point out when you pull in at 4 stalls and 3 of them are broken, that you have to be lucky that the 4th stall isn't taken. So they were super lucky that they even got a stall at all.
Exactly. And we've experienced this before, too. I mean, I've experienced so many broken CCS fast chargers and CHAdeMO plugs before. I have a Leaf, and in that Leaf, I've come across so many broken EV Go stations that I've basically given up. I just stay within my home charging range bubble. I don't ever really try and stretch my range outside of that.
Now, when you say broken, you mean like the plastic's broken or the metal's broken?
Nope, you just pull up to it. It looks perfectly fine. The screen is on, and it just is like out of order. At some point during you plugging it in and sitting there waiting for it to start charging, nothing is happening, and that which usually means that you have to call the place and say like, "Hey, your thing isn't working," and they either go like, "Oh yeah, we know," and you're like, well, then why is it like, why? Or it's like, okay, try 16 different steps. I'm going to waste 20 minutes of your time. And then at the end, it's like, sorry about that. Don't worry. Next time, if you sign up for our little thing, we'll do a special thing for you. And it's like, no, thank you very much. Right now, I'm in a crisis because I need to find somewhere to charge my car because otherwise I'm going to have to tow it home.
Yeah, and in our test of the VW ID4, which we did recently, you nearly got stranded at an Electrify America charger, and you had to call them.
Yeah, and so I called them. I had to change stalls a bunch of times, which was a waste of time and range. And then finally, the guy was like, okay, this time when you plug it in, cradle the charger. And I was like, what the heck are you talking about? He's like, okay, hold the charger up and push it in as it's starting to charge. And I'm like, do I have to do this the whole time? He's like, no, just at the beginning of the charge cycle. So I did it and it worked, which is like, why? Why did that have to happen? And it's very frustrating. And you look like a complete idiot. And of course, I'm in a Walmart parking lot and there's people like looking around. And it's
Like,
just,
are you trying to break that car?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That wasn't fun, but at least it worked that one time. But there have been many times that I've pulled into that Electrify America charger and I check and all of the chargers are broken.
And then I want to talk about the 80% state of charge problem that we encountered.
Right. So the Mach-E, and this is only for the Mach-E, not the ID4. When you charge at a fast charging station, it's great, right? Up until 80% state of charge, when the charging rate drops to, in my case, less than 20 kilowatts, and in their case, down to 10 kilowatts at 88% state of charge, which I know kilowatts, what are you talking about? That's like nothing. I mean, that's pretty much like level 2 charging speed, like the public chargers that you see out in the world. It's not good.
No, I mean, it's to protect their battery. Obviously, they are worried about overheating it. And because they haven't figured out how to thermally cool it well enough, they're just taking a very conservative approach, which, you know, until you actually own the car and try to use it, you're like, I don't care. But then when you actually go on some road trips and that 80% becomes hours of your day, now you do care.
Exactly. I mean, it essentially reduces the range of that car on road trips. Like if you were to charge it at a destination charger, that would be fine, you know, because then overnight it would charge up to 100% because the limits wouldn't really do anything because you'd be level 2 charging. But when you're like in the middle of your day trying to get to your next charger, or maybe you want to get even a little bit further and you're like charging at a great speed and you're like, oh, I'm checking it on my phone. That's great. And then I'll order another thing. And then you check back and you're like, I'm going to be here for another 30 minutes? What the heck? Why?
Right.
And so in their test, they basically had to leave at exactly 80% state of charge. Not that you usually want to stay at a charger for much longer after you hit 80%, but just not having the ability to charge is just really stupid. And now, I know what you're saying. You're saying, Zach and Jesse, you're such Tesla fanboys, and of course you're going to be thinking this way. Well, we're not the only ones who feel this way. On Marquez Brownlee's video, Engineering Explained commented, and he said, thank you for doing this. It's so difficult to recommend a non-Tesla EV when none of the non-Tesla EVs take the user experience of charging seriously. Really hope EA and all other manufacturers up their game if they're looking for anyone to buy these cars, especially in the US where occasional long road trips are fairly normal. So this is a guy who was really into his Nissan Leaf when he first bought it. He's basically saying, yeah, I can't really recommend a non-Tesla EV to people because I can't guarantee that their charging experience is going to be positive.
I'll tell you another reason why you can't recommend a non-Tesla EV. Let's take a look at one of the best-selling EVs outside of Tesla, which is the GM Chevy Bolt. And as we've been reporting on Tesla Time News, 142,000 Bolts have been recalled because of potential battery fires. There's been a dozen battery fires so far, and GM doesn't have a solution yet. Yes,
Right.
They say they're going to replace modules of the battery, but they don't have the software yet to figure out which modules are bad. So at the moment, they've told Bolt owners to do what?
Park their cars 50 feet away from anything that can catch on fire.
Yeah, and I mean, we made a joke about it on Tesla Time News last week because we can't think of any real solution to that order. I mean, if you tell someone stay 50 feet away from anything that can catch on fire, that might sound pretty easy to you. Like, okay.
Well,
But
because you can think of a situation where that's possible. Okay, I will go to that Walmart parking lot that's really big and wide open, the mall, you know, that the parking lot that only fills up during, you know, Black Friday. Okay, I'll park way out there. Great. That's not anything, though, because most of your life is not parking at the mall. It's not parking at Walmart. It's parking at your house. How do you get 50 feet away from most houses and still be on your property line?
what if you want to go pick up your kids at school? How do you stay 50 feet away from other cars at a school parking lot?
Exactly.
So like, GM, this doesn't work for...
That's not a real solution. That's not anything. It's a slap in the face to all Bolt owners who basically went, hey, I want an EV really badly. The Bolt looks like an affordable, capable EV. And in that respect, yes, it is. It has a fairly decent range. It has decent specs. It can even charge, albeit at 50 kilowatts. But now You are slapping them in the face saying, oh, you wanted a car that works? Well, it does work, but it might catch on fire.
Well, and as you pointed out, it's been recalled. So that means if you want to trade it in to get something better, you can't because no one wants it.
Exactly. And I really think that GM needs to be buying back these bolts.
Yeah, I mean, the NTSB came out last week and said that Tesla is being misleading. Well, why aren't you doing something about GM, which is causing all of their owners to have a dangerous situation, and now it's affected their livelihood? I mean, if you need that car to do anything, it's basically useless.
I mean, where are you going to park it? I mean, you basically just have to leave it out in a field and wait for it to burn down.
A non-flammable field.
Right, which is a parking lot.
Right.
You're going to have to, park it at the mall, don't touch it, just leave it there until it catches on fire? No, most people can't afford to do that, which means that they're going to need to drive them around. They're going to need to park them somewhere that they can charge them, which means that you have to park within 50 feet of your house because how else am I supposed to charge the damn thing? Okay, so now it catches on fire. GM has done a terrible job of dealing with these people who have had their houses catch on fire, who have had, other cars around them catch on fire. And GM's just like, what do you want us to do about it when cars catch on fire? What do you want?
No.
Really, really awful.
So here's the thing. Yes, we titled this episode, Why EVs Will Lose. It's bombastic, and I don't think EVs will lose.
We wanted to drive home the point that if it weren't for Tesla, EVs would not even be a viable option right now.
Every other auto manufacturer, even though they've had decades to figure out how to make EVs work, they've decided to keep making ICE cars.
They are clueless not only about how to make an exceptional EV, but also they don't know how to make them cost effective. They don't know how to do high energy density batteries or an actual charging infrastructure.
I mean, as we showed in this video, if Tesla weren't a part of this picture, there would be no EVs in this picture.
Mach-E's and Leafs and the ID4 are not really viable vehicles for the majority of people. And oddly enough, many reviewers are going to say that they are because they don't have to experience poor charging infrastructure. It only takes one broken charger to completely ruin your vacation plans, or in some cases, business trip plans, or just your life in general.
They are so lackluster that they can't compete against their ICE equivalents, and therefore EVs would never existed.
They are only existing today because Tesla has forced their hand.
So you can call us Tesla fanboys. You can say we don't give other manufacturers fair shakes, but you'd be wrong.
We've driven and tested the BMWs, the Mercedes, Fords, GMs, VWs, Renaults, and we've tried the other charging networks.
We want other companies to succeed because we want to transition away from fossil fuels.
But aside from some startups like Arcimoto and Aptera and possibly Rivian, there don't appear to be any compelling EVs out there other than Teslas.
I am so angry at Big Auto because they have the resources, they have the expertise, and they have the experience to build compelling EVs and charging infrastructure. But they either waited too long or still haven't gotten the memo on EVs being the future, and so they suck at it.
All of us watching here get it. We know that Tesla has amazing vehicles, the safest, most efficient, most fun vehicles on the road. So why do so many people not get it?
I think it's because we have all taken the time to educate ourselves. We follow what's going on. We are in the know.
But let's be real here for a second. There are plenty of things going on in the world that, as smart as I am, I do not follow and I do not understand fully.
It's usually things that we're just not that interested in. And I get it. For many people, a car is a car is a car. Why would most people want to spend their precious time learning about cars? Because let's face it, for most people, a car is about getting from point A to point B.
If it can't do that cheaply enough, then nothing else matters.
So then why do so many people have the wrong idea about EVs?
Because they just hear little tidbits floating around.
EVs catch on fire.
EVs don't have enough range.
EVs are too expensive.
And you know what? If you took Tesla out of the picture, all of these statements would have a lot of truth to them.
So it's no wonder so many people have it wrong.
All the brands they're used to have sucky EVs. Their ranges suck, some of them do have battery fire issues, and many of them cost much more than they should.
The brands we grew up with are not going to get us out of our planet's climate predicament. Our governments have shown that they are equally clueless. Because let's be honest, I'm happy to hear that the federal government wants to spend billions on EV charging. But you know what? If it's going to turn out like EVgo or Electrify America's networks, then it's not going to work. And we just showed you why.
If the federal government calls upon execs from EVgo and Electrify America,
Hey, weren't you the previous VP of Electrify America? Great! You must know how to build EV charging infrastructures. You're hired.
they don't know. Obviously, a map with dots is not the same as a charging network with high power chargers in smart locations and lots of them at each location that work all the time and that don't overcharge EV drivers.
Look, if we're going to transition to clean transportation quickly, we need to wake the up and realize that we have an obvious leader in this field, Tesla, and we should be following their lead.
Why don't more of us know who this leader is? Because we have been misled, and most people have not taken the time to educate themselves.
Going back to the little tidbits of info that we've all picked up that float around in our worlds, those topics that we don't know much about. It's dangerous to rely on something I heard. That's not truth. That's someone else's opinion that you now take as truth.
It's kind of like that movie that you heard about. You're at a dinner party and someone says, "Oh, that movie, I heard it's really boring."
Yeah, much too long is what I heard.
"Oh yeah, total sleep fest."
So you walk away thinking, everyone says that movie sucks. I'm not going to waste my time seeing that movie.
And that's the state of EVs today. The fossil fuel industry, big auto, they have all spent tons of money spreading the narrative that is that the EV movie is a sleep fest.
Don't waste your time seeing that movie.
And for most people, that's all they need to hear to keep them away.
But is the movie a sleep fest? Or is it possibly one of the most amazing movies of all time?
Are they afraid that if too many experience this movie, we will tell all of our friends and before long, it will be a hit and the world will go see it?
We have seen the movie. We know it's amazing. It is now up to us to share our experience with everyone we can.
This is the only way that we will tip the scales and end fossil fuels. And you have the tools to do it too.
Why will EVs lose? They'll lose if we don't take action.
You've got your marching orders. You know what to do. Now you know.